Good afternoon, friends. I'm Miss Natalie from the Accokeek branch of Prince George's County Memorial Library System, and welcome to our Crafternoon. Our craft today is going to be a terrifying monster from Scandinavian folklore in honor of Summer at Your Library, which is all about folklore and fairy tales and mythology. The one we're doing today is the terrifying Kraken. He is essentially an octopus, but not just any octopus. He's an enormous octopus, as large as a ship and capable of taking one down very easily. So it's a good thing that he's just pretend. We're going to make him today, and we aren't going to need a lot of stuff. We're just going to need some yarn. And if you don't have a lot of yarn, that's still okay because you can just make him a little bit smaller, and that'll be fine too. Now this one has a little face. It's got some angry eyes made out of just paper I had left over from another craft. You could use construction paper, you could use cardstock, you could use newspaper, you could use printer paper. That's all fine. He doesn't even have to have those eyes. I'm going to be just using a scrap that I had left over. Here it is. And a little bit of glue to put that on. We're also going to need some scissors, and that's how we are going to turn the ball of yarn into something that we can make into all of these many, many legs. Now the thing about this Crafternoon is that it does need a little bit of math. If we can take a look at all of these legs, you'll see that he's got 8 of them, and that means we're going to need pieces of yarn in a number divisible by 8. And more than that, it's braided. And to make this braid, we're going to need 3 pieces braided together. And that means we're going to have pieces of yarn in a number divisible by 24, which is 8 legs times 3 pieces of braid. You don't have to worry about that. If he doesn't come out exactly even, that's not something you should fret over. But if you're the kind of person who does fret over it, you could cut 24 equal pieces or 48, that'd be fine too. You can measure it at any length you want. You get to decide what size of octopus that you are going to make. If it's a very small Kraken, that just means he's only going to attack very small ships, and that's fine too. I have pre-cut some so that you don't have to see me measuring all of this yarn, but you should probably know I didn't really measure it, not with a ruler anyway. I took some yarn and I wound it 24 times around my hand, then I just snipped it and they would all be the same size. In order to make his head, we are going to take the yarn, we're going to make sure all the ends are together on each side, and then we are going to tie it right here. You're not going to need much yarn to tie it. I'm just going to snip a little bit off here. And right here in the middle, we are going to tie a little knot. I'm going to tie a little box knot. Doesn't really matter what kind. You can get your grown-up to help you, and that is just fine. If you want to tie a great big old knot up there, that's cool too. And now we're going to make his head. We're going to kind of pull out and puff up this part right here, and then we're going to squeeze right underneath where we think his head's going to be. His head's going to have a lot of air in it. And then we're going to tie a little knot right here too. I grabbed up a handful of yarn and didn't consider knots. You should know if you grab up handfuls of yarn, knots are going to happen. Okay, there is his little face, and I'm going to snip off this extra. Now there he is with his older brother. The only difference is this guy has these legs going on, and this guy is kind of looking like a jellyfish. We'll fix that. We are going to, if you counted, then you will know if you're going to have legs that are a braid of 3 pieces or 6 pieces or 9 pieces. I'm just going to braid together these 2 yarn, 2 yarn, 2 yarn segments, and that'll be fine. And if it didn't come out even, that would be fine too. Sea monsters are not known for how tidy they are. I don't know if we would even like them as much if they were known for how tidy they are. We'd be like, ugh, sea monster, more like an accountant. Here we go. This is easier to do on a surface than up in the air, especially if you're sitting doing it just like on your lap. That's very comfy. So you'll probably go a little bit faster than I am. And there's one of his little legs, and I am going to tie it off. Alright, so the yarn that you tied, you can just leave it to hang down with the little bit extra there is there, or you could trim this all and that would be fine too. Now, even though I made fun of myself for doing that pretty slowly, it was actually a little bit faster than some people braid. I'm going to braid this one nice and slow so you can see. I've got 2 pieces of yarn, 2 pieces of yarn in the middle, 2 pieces of yarn in the right, and the way this goes is we pull the right one over the middle one and then pull the middle one to the right, and we pull the middle one to the left a little bit so there's this nice space, and we push the one on the left into the middle, so now the one in the middle is on the left. And then we do the same thing again. We put the one on the right into the middle, and then we put the one on the left into the middle, and then the one on the right into the middle, and the one on the left into the middle. And that's the way that we make this basic braid. You could do a fancy braid if you wanted to, but this is not going to be a fancy sea monster, so there you go. And once you get down to where it's about the same length as the other leg, that's when you're going to want to tie that one off too. I'm not going to have y'all watch me do all 8 of these, because that would be kind of a long video. And I think doing 2 of them, you kind of get the idea of how it's going to go. If you wanted yours to have 6 legs or 10 legs or 3 legs, that would be cool too. You don't have to subscribe to whatever I'm doing here. You can do whatever you want to. It's your sea monster. I am going to show you how to put some eyes on here though. For these, I thought to make them angry, I'd give them some downward eyes. They kind of go up at the outside and then down in the middle. So I cut out 2 triangles. I put the longest side of the triangle on top so that they're kind of looking down, and I tilt them in a little bit. Looking a little bit Picasso over here. The thing is, we do have to glue those on there. I squeezed a little bit of glue onto this paper, and I'm just going to dab it because a little bit of glue will go a long way. And there they are, brothers, holding hands. There we go. Now I did this with just one kind of yarn and didn't do it very fancy, but you could make it a little bit fancy if you wanted to. For this one, I used two kinds of yarn. I cut them all the same length and I put them on top of each other and I mixed them up a little bit. And now he looks all scraggly, kind of like he's got some seaweed going on. This guy's the same, but even more so. This guy is real messy. He looks like he's half seaweed, half algae. And then I thought, why not a baby? So instead of braiding this one, this is just some that has been tied for the head, and each one of these is a tentacle, and that's fine too. What's important is that they are all attacking this ship together as friends. Just so you know, none of this has to be expensive. My favorite yarn, the one that went into this one, I used only a little bit of this, and this whole thing was $1. I could have made dozens and dozens of these for $1. This is mostly about the amount of time you're going to put in rather than the amount of supplies you're going to buy. Thank you all so much for joining us today for this Crafternoon. Enjoy the rest of summer at your library, and I'll see you later. Bye!